Steubenville in March to record some podcasts there. And Steubenville is this small Rust Belt town in southeastern Ohio that has a Catholic university. The Franciscan University of Steubenville is there. But there's something happening there that I wasn't aware of before I went there to do some interviews about this book. And it is becoming a kind of Catholic colony. And it's not just because of the university. Over the past 3 to 5 years, something like 100 or 115 families, Catholic families, have moved to Steubenville from all over the country and the world. They're coming for thick, true Catholic community. They have no connection to the university in many cases. They are transforming the town. The town has, it's strange when you go there. Like, I immediately noticed that there was something different about this place. Mm-hmm. And I'll give you one little example, right? I was staying in a hotel across the highway from the university, but the day that I left, I wanted to go to Mass. It was just a weekday Mass, 8 a.m. Mass at St. Peter's downtown. And I didn't have a car. And so I texted the person who was going to take me to the airport. And I said, I'm going to go to Mass at St. Peter's at 8 a.m. Can I just meet you there? Can you just pick me up there afterwards? And he said, I'm going to that same Mass too. I'll just meet you there. I said, okay, great. I looked at my phone. It's about a 20-minute walk. I was like, perfect, beautiful morning, mid-March, sunny weather. I was like, I'll just walk. And I wasn't really sure about the way the roads and highways are set up in some places, walking is not always like an option. I was like, I'll just figure out a way to walk there. Mm-hmm. So I go out the parking lot of the hotel and I was like, okay, I need to go this way. So I walk to the end of the parking lot and there's like a kind of like a scrubby field, and like some like broken down fencing and across at the end of the scrubby field, there's like some concrete, highway barriers. And in between them is a little path. And you go through the path and then you come to like a dead end of a road. And then that kind of begins this like dilapidated neighborhood of a lot of abandoned houses. And that will lead you to like some of the, the streets of the town and then onto the downtown where the Catholic Church was. I was like, well, this is the direction I need to go. It kind of seems sketchy, but it's
8 a.m. on a Sunday.
It's 8 a.m. on a Tuesday. How dangerous could it be? And it's very typical kind of Rust Belt, like somewhat abandoned houses in this neighborhood. As I got closer, as I crossed this like scrubby kind of field of like broken concrete and weeds, I noticed these 2 highway barriers that were like, marking out this like trail, this sort of entrance into the town. There was graffiti on them, bright yellow spray painted graffiti. What the graffiti was the Cairo cross and an arrow pointing.
Yeah. And
I realized this is so people staying in the hotel know how to walk to St. Peter's.
Yeah.
That's what the graffiti is for. Like it was graffiti, right? Spray painted, but in the context, it just struck me as like, these are like signs that this town is going through a transformation. And then I went to Mass, 8 a.m. weekday Mass, full of a multi-generational congregation of people, college students, nuns, old people, families with children. They were all there for a weekday 8 a.m. Mass to like start their days. And I just realized that there was, I started talking to people and asking people about like, what's happening here. And then I found out like all these families are moving here from all over the country to be part of something. There's something happening in Steubenville. Those are the kind of communities that will be the source of rebirth of Christianity in America and a renewal of American Christianity in the midst of what really is like the resurgence of paganism and the emergence of a post-Christian America.
Can you just say maybe the importance of something that Christians might have to consider doing is moving? Is that right?
Yes, right. So I was talking about how, more than 100 families have moved to Steubenville in recent years, Catholic families that are going there for the vibrant Catholic community and fellowship and culture that is coming into being there, right? Mm-hmm. And this is something that I have heard from other people, mostly Catholics, of people moving to places for the faith community, not for a job, not for an educational opportunity, but for the faith community, because they want to be part of something real and thick community, and they want to raise their kids in those places. And so, yeah, that might mean moving to a different part of the country. It might mean quitting your job, or it might mean your spouse quitting her job, or any number of like major life changes that we are like not accustomed to thinking is like the way that you have success as an American in the modern world. We move for jobs, or we move for like school, but will we move for our faith? Will we move for the sake of being able to raise our children in a faith community that's strong and thick? I think that's the kind of shift in thinking that we need to start, that more Americans who see the problems and want to do something about it have to start entertaining maybe radical ways of changing their lives and changing the rhythm of their lives, and maybe the whole like trajectory of their families by like moving to a new area and starting something new. I think that's like going to become like one of the least radical ways of changing your life as we get further into this post-Christian era. But it's certainly something people should start thinking about now, along with a host of other things that we can talk about.
Yeah, it's a good test on the first commandment, because I've run into a lot of situations before where someone will go, oh, just so you know, like we're joining whatever, like an evangelical church, right? And they've been maybe LCMS members their whole life. And well, okay, well, why? Oh, well, we took a job and we moved to this place and there's just no LCMS church. So, right. So that's a good test example of what was more important was a 15% raise versus your actual spiritual life.
Yeah.
And that's something that's wired in, as they feel comfortable saying that to their pastor. It's not like, I know this is kind of off, but I have to confess to you that we did this. It's like, you would do the same thing, right, pastor?
It's the rich young ruler, What must I do to be saved? Sell all you have and come and follow me. And the rich young ruler went away sad, for he was very wealthy. I mean, that is a diabolical temptation of our society that has ensnared many, many Christians. And we've got to start talking about that too, and saying, for the good of your faith, for the good of your soul and the faith of your children, you may have to accept being, having a lower income, right? Or not advancing in your career the way you want to. But there are more important things than a 15% raise, right? And we are going to have to, as we talked earlier about the church shrinking, but becoming more potent. And part of becoming more potent is saying the most important thing in my life and in the life of my family is our faith. Everything is subservient to that. Everything comes after that. Career, work, sports, school, everything is undertaken in light of our faith, our individual faith, how we practice our faith as a family, and how we practice our faith in community. And that has got to become the most important thing. The consequences for which all other, sort of like the prism through which you view all of your other decisions. And that will make the church more potent and more powerful when people start thinking in those terms and get out of this very, very materialist, very capitalist and consumerist mindset that where all our decisions are about like, how do we get ahead in our careers? I think in some cases we have to walk away from our careers.
Well, you can see even just the practicality of that, right? So with kind of the landscape of things that you've painted, and we'll kind of hash some of this out as we go too. But so you take a 15% pay increase and you move to this area, and there's not a good church community, and it's not going to be the best place to raise your children, right? So what does that look like long term? Well, it looks like most families today, right, had 3 kids. One kid kind of goes to church every once in a while. One's completely apostatized and da da da. And the parents are very frustrated about it. And they might have a nice house and maybe they've got, you know, a little bit of a nicer car.
Frustrated and confused.
Yeah.
How did this happen?
And the answer is because you set your household up in this way, right?
Yeah.
Versus you might do kind of what you're talking about. And maybe you move to Steubenville or you move to Waconia or you move wherever it is. And you say, we're going to go there because that is a great church community. That's their starting place. I'm pretty sure I can find a job there, da 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 da. And it might have a little bit of, I might make less money. And all of a sudden, what do? Now you've got a healthy, thriving family, and your children are being polished and growing up in a great area where they've got good friends, they've got other parental role models. Mm-hmm. And flash forward 20, 30 years down the road, and what do you have? Maybe you've got a smaller house, you know, maybe you don't drive as nice of a car, and maybe you're just at peace. Right? Maybe your children are not actively rebelling against you and the church and everything that you claimed to believe and hold dear.
And maybe you've taken over your town.
Yeah.
Maybe you've got control of the city council. Maybe you've got pornography out of the libraries. Maybe you have, you know, Saints' Day processions in the streets of your town. Maybe you have Christmas parades. You know, maybe you've taken over your county. Maybe you've taken over your state. You know, this is sort of like the Reconquista of America, right? Mm-hmm. That we're talking about. This is about finding and fighting on ground you can win. Don't fight, you know, for Minneapolis or Los Angeles or San Francisco. Those places are lost. Get away from them and move to places where you can take the faith back into the public square and gain ground. Establish a beachhead. You don't live. A beachhead isn't a place where you stay. It's a staging ground for advancing inland. And that's how we have to start thinking the way Christians used to think about our lives and our mission and like how we are going to transform our society.